And good morning. It is March the 5th, 2019, and today's topic is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I have again with me today Miss Amber Williams.
Good morning.
And who else do we have today?
Oh, Amina.
We have Amina, one of the students here today. And we're just going to jump straight into it. We don't waste no time about talking about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. How do you guys get comfortable with being uncomfortable? Or do you even get comfortable with being uncomfortable?
I feel like at the first moment, I don't get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It gotta take like some time, some progression. Like I gotta keep doing the uncomfortable to get comfortable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. I wouldn't say that I necessarily jump right in with being uncomfortable, but then I try to just put stuff in perspective and find the good even in the most uncomfortable moments that I have.
Or just get it over with. And then you're done.
That's true. That's that too.
And that's the I think that's the part right there. Is just saying just getting it done with is being the part that's uncomfortable the most. You know, it's like I know when I was in school it was like, you know, you got a 20-page paper due. Oh, you know you're gonna be feeling uncomfortable because it's like, especially if you do it at the last minute.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so that was one of the things where it taught me as I went on through college was like, okay, you got to be uncomfortable with writing a paper, but you're gonna be uncomfortable, really uncomfortable, if you do it at the last minute. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the things that I was just like, you know, let me start doing my work earlier on hand now. But like right now, being in life right now, being uncomfortable, I mean, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it can feel really, really, really bad at times. But it's like, you got to fight. Like, that's how I look at it every day is I'm fighting, you know, with being uncomfortable, you know. Another thing that I did in college, I'm just talking, you know, about, you know, when I was uncomfortable was like where I studied at. Like I know every day I was at home when I could study at home, it was most comfortable. But boy, when I go in that library is where I was most uncomfortable at. But I know if I stayed there, I was gonna get my work done regardless. So it was like finding different places around the campus where I could actually study it that was like an uncomfortable feeling. Like I knew the library was uncomfortable because it's always cold in there, right? It's freezing in the library. Don't nobody want to be in the library. Like, so, you know, it was like maneuvering my way around that because I knew if I went home, ain't nothing getting done because I got everything here that I need. My bed, TV, food, my phone, you know. One of the things I want to ask is like, how do you get uncomfortable with using that phone? Because everybody's so comfortable with going to their phone, right? How do you be uncomfortable with that?
I have to give people my phone. If I'm really trying to get something done, either I'll let it go dead and just be like, okay, I can't charge it up until I get something done. Or if I have somebody around me, I give them my phone. And because if it's so easy to just be like, oh, you know, I've been working on this for like 10 minutes. Let me pick up my phone real quick and scroll through social media or respond to this text or get on YouTube real quick. I'm supposed to be looking up how to do something on YouTube. I start looking up other videos and, you know, different things like that. So for me, it's either finding me an accountability partner and giving them my phone or just letting that thing die and just letting it stay dead until I get done with what I need to do. You know, I think that's an effective strategy for me.
For me, I haven't mastered any way really in particular to get uncomfortable. Sometimes I just wait till the last minute, I procrastinate till I'd be like, okay, I have 2 hours until this is due. So I know I can't be on my phone. Or sometimes I really do try to power it off, but then I put it back on. So it's just I was suppose an emergency happens, you know, and make excuses to why I need my phone on. Or, as I said, I do my work at work.
Right.
So that way I cannot be on my phone at work, so I can get stuff done.
Right.
Well, it looks like I found an article here, and it talks about the 10 benefits of being uncomfortable, and one of them is you are able to practice being present.
It's true. Yeah.
My mind was everywhere except in the water when I started. This is the example that they given. My body knew it could easily drown, so my mind raced everywhere else. Needless to say, such an approach prohibited my ability to make progress, and it took months for me to get present in the water. Because your mind was somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like you gotta practice. Just from what it's saying, you are able to practice being present. So being uncomfortable, her mind was everywhere except in the water when she started. You know,
Right.
she wasn't there. You know, so it's like putting yourself in that actual place. Like, let me get this done. You know,
Right.
like while I'm here, let me get this done. Let me be
Right.
great. You know.
Right. And that goes back to what you were saying about the library. I had to do that too in undergrad. I had to actually, like, I had a big gap. I would schedule big gaps in between my classes so that I could be dedicated to studying or getting involved doing something on campus. So I would go to the library and sit for like an hour or two and get the work done. Because I know once I got home, between going to school, being involved, and working too, when I got home, I wasn't trying to do nothing but chill, go to sleep, whatever. So going to the library, being in that environment and being uncomfortable in the chair and staring at the computer, I mean, that's how I got my work done. And I still do that now in grad school. I still go somewhere where I know I'm not going to be comfortable so I can write this paper. So when I go home, I'm not like, oh, I'm going to get to it and doing everything else and not getting nothing done.
And it goes for just, I mean, what works for you. You know, like, I'm not telling everybody to not study at home because some people can study at home. That's their uncomfortable place, you know. But I'm just saying, like, you have to find that place that's uncomfortable. Like, that uncomfortable feeling is that good feeling. I felt like that all through college, like, even through the whole semester. The most uncomfortable feeling was like midterms, was like finals, because you want to do your best. You know, like your heart racing, that adrenaline is pumping. Like, trust me, I know how it feels when, you know, as far as being a student and feeling uncomfortable, you know. But it's like, I got to do everything in my willpower to, you know, not get comfortable, not to settle. That's what we do. We settle. You know, once we get into this comfortable state, we settle. And then disaster happens, you know, and you can't allow that.
I think that's my problem right there. I'm settling. Like, I don't have all these cool ambitions like you guys do. I'm at the point where she's get degrees. I'm not really trying to do my best at this point, you know? I mean, I am, but not really.
Mhm.
So I haven't, like, got to the point where I really need to be uncomfortable. And I just, for love of me, cannot go in that library, ever. And
What's
guys
your
have a
grade
library.
level? Like, where are you at in your...
A sophomore.
I mean, I think that's common. As a sophomore, I think I was actually more motivated than I was when I got to my senior year. I was ready to go. Like, I just had like a lot of external factors too, kind of pulling at me. So I was like, let me get this degree, and that's where I got into that attitude. Oh, well, C's get degrees, and I got my first 2 C's like my last year, after like doing pretty well. And looking back on them, like, man, I probably could have did better. But I was just unmotivated. I was ready to go. I'll say for that, like, you have to like figure out, even if your goals aren't as broad as everybody else, or even if you don't know what your goals are, you gotta find something to motivate you. Maybe it's just like getting done with a degree so that you can be done with school and you don't have to go back if you don't want to. That was my attitude when I graduated. Like, I'm never going back to school. I'm done. Like that, but that motivated me to be like, hey, do your best so you're not retaking classes, you're not doing all this crazy stuff, so that you can graduate in May. So maybe that's something that you need to look at. Okay, well, what's going to motivate me? If it's getting out of here, how can I do my best and get my best grades and put my best foot forward so that I can get out of here?
That sounds good.
The next one that they have on here is you learn how to manage fear. She said, I was afraid of drowning. There was no question in my mind. I literally had not once of water safety or swimming ability. So fear was a huge factor. By being present and enjoying the challenge, I could leverage both and manage my fear. So, you learn how to manage your fear, when you when you going uncomfortable about something. I know even being a student athlete, like I was uncomfortable with I practice guru, I felt like I was on top of the world in practice. I'm beating everybody, but it was different when the race came, the real race. I ain't talking about racing the people that I practice with, I'm talking about racing other schools and other people. I felt uncomfortable. I wasn't comfortable enough. And it grew, just like she's saying, it might not happen right now, but over the period of time, you develop these type of mindset, you develop these type of traits, to push you along further. And that's what I developed. You develop, I don't know, from my athletic background, you develop that dog attitude, that's what they call it, the dog attitude, I'm gonna win, I'm hungry, I'm a dog out here, so I gotta eat, so, the fear part, that's why I feel like it comes, it's over a period of time, you grow into that, How do y'all feel?
I agree.
So the next one they have here is you recognize that progress is small. Nothing never really happens overnight. She said, my ultimate goal was to swim a half mile in open water. I fully realized that such a feat would take a tremendous amount of practice. Taking baby steps was my only option. Luckily, Tracy understood understood better than I did that progress was going to come one small stroke at a time. And see, that goes with you right there, where you trying to figure out a million things at one time. Let me just take this one small step. I remember this, I watch YouTube videos, but I was watching this YouTube video, and this guy had this jar. He did it in his classroom setting, and he showed the class all of these different things with this jar. And he had some golf balls, he had some pennies, he had sand, and the golf balls were the most important things in our lives. And the sand and the pennies was like materialistic things, like, your car, money, clothes and stuff like that. So the biggest thing is that go with this is, like it's saying, the small things matter. The small things matter, but the most important things matter. And those may seem small. The one thing that we were trying to do was put the materialistic things in this jar first, and then try to take the most important things and dump on top of the small things. It don't work like that, because guess what's going to happen? As you dump all the small things, like the materialistic things like car, money, clothing, doing things, partying and all of this stuff, you dump all that sand in there. Those balls, that's the most important thing, like school, like family, like whatever my religion may be, like my children, or whatever it may be that I have that's most important to me, they're not going to fit in that jar. How is it going to fit in that jar when you can dump all the small, the things that don't even matter is materialistic? So recognize that progress is small, but the progress is small when I focus on the most important things that's in my life. You know what I mean? It may seem long and far to reach, but at the same time, small goals. I know a guy used to always tell me small wins. What's your small wins, Roy, for the week? That was how he started off every meeting when I met with this particular group. The small things matter. I guarantee you this. If you do this, my friend told me to do this. He said, if you write down all the small things that happened to you for over the whole year, and on New Year's Eve, you look at all those small things, I bet you a couple of them add up to big things.
That's true. I agree with that.
He told me that. He actually did it. He wrote down every small thing. Like, you may think like, oh man, dang, I got a car. That may be a small thing to you, but that's a huge thing. That's a huge accomplishment. You write that down. You put that in the jar. Oh, I got an A on the test. Out of a class that I didn't even think that I was getting to go get an A out of, let me write that down. Let me put that in the jar. And then you open them up and you'll be amazed and surprised about how many goals that you hit that was so small that became big. You get what I'm saying? It's like, I know it's hard to recognize, some of the things that we do, but we don't recognize the small things. And the small things be some of the most uncomfortable little things that we actually go through.
Right.
Like studying for a test, you know? Really, seriously. For the next one, you understand that anything is possible. I mean, you got to understand that, you know, this lady had absolutely zero confidence in the ability to swim when she started, but always believed that she could succeed. Successful people may initially lack confidence in a task, but they almost always believe they will figure out a way to succeed. See what I'm saying? Like even with what I just said on the small stuff, like that's building up your confidence, you know, as you writing down these little goals. Because everybody always look at the big things, the big picture. You know what I mean? Oh, I want this. Oh, I want to graduate. But you ain't go through the process to graduate. The process to graduating is being uncomfortable.
Right.
But don't nobody tell you that. You know what I mean? It's for to be a doctor, you're gonna be uncomfortable. To be a lawyer, you're gonna be uncomfortable. Any profession, you're gonna be uncomfortable. You just gotta notice it. Oh man,
And that's what anything you're trying to accomplish. I think people get so caught up in, especially in our culture now with like social media, seeing the successes, but we're not seeing, we only see people's highlight reels on those channels. We don't see the steps that they took to get to that point. We're not seeing like the failures and the struggles and all that. And I mean, anything I feel like that's worth having is worth working for. So if you're not willing to put in the work, then I mean, you can't really expect to get those things that you want. And I mean, expecting for things to just go smoothly, I haven't accomplished anything that I feel a great sense of pride about that did not have me uncomfortable at some point in that process, like nothing. But anything that came easy, honestly, wasn't worth me having or wasn't worth having because it just wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the process. So,
You got some feedback for us?
Not really. I was just thinking about some of like my greatest success. Well, it's not in college, which is sad because I don't really do anything here. But like back in high school, I was like, oh, I remember all the struggle. But then when you get first place, it's just like, whoa! Like it was like a district competition with different schools, so it was like hella scary, like so scary. Like 20 different other high schools, and like you just like presented in front of people, and you just like. You don't know whether you're like, gonna have like a complication or if you're gonna like misspeak, and you just can't read people's faces sometimes too, you know. So.
But I feel like at some point in life, everybody is uncomfortable. Like I said, you know, whether you look at it is how you look at it. Really, like I may look at Amber and say, "Dang, Amber looks so comfortable," and you know, in her role. But at the same time, you don't know physically what that person has going on in their mind. You know, in their heart, you know, like as far as anything, you know, like what they got going on. You know, they may be uncomfortable, but they look comfortable on the outside. Uncomfortable is in the inside. You know what I'm saying? To me, you feel uncomfortable from the inside. Then it shows on the outside. You know what I'm saying? If you let it show, you know. But everybody has some uncomfortableness to them. You'll see as time progresses when we get to where we coming up on the midpoint. You'll see how people start scrambling around here. They uncomfortable. You would. Oh man, the way that people move on the campus, how they walking, you know, how they talking, everything is gonna matter as we get closer and closer to the end of the semester. You'll see that uncomfortableness from people on the campus, even from the administrators, even from the professors. Pay attention to your professors and how they moving and how they distributing work. And how they giving it out. They uncomfortable too. So you ain't the only person that's feeling this same pressure, you know. I'm uncomfortable right now with what I got going on with, you know, we got an event coming up Friday. I've been uncomfortable for the last 2 months. You know, when as far as putting everything and planning it, because I don't want it to, you know, we want to do our best. We don't want it to fail, you know, and that's why you feel like that, you know. When you uncomfortable, you feel like that because you don't want to fail. You know, nobody wants to fail. The next one, you get to kick your own ass. Getting uncomfortable allows you to demonstrate by example your initiation to kick your own ass instead of waiting on someone else to do it. By that point, it's usually too late in life. self-aware people know when it's time to shake things up in their life. Like I just said. You know what I mean? You'll see. People been started from the beginning of the semester with this comfortable mindset. They just going through the motions. But I guarantee you, when the midpoint hit, which is today, matter of fact, they gonna crank it up. Folks gonna start trying to crank it up. Really. When they should have been cranking it up from the start. But now it's time to go, like he said, sometimes C's, we notice and we picture things. C's get degrees. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But you still got to know which direction you going in. Mm-hmm. What we got next? You break up the routine. Life is often a series of routines followed by other routines. Ultimately, you will have to decide just how much predictability you want to have in your life. Getting uncomfortable allows you to break up the routine and challenges you to work through new situations. Oh my God. Break up the routine. So, you know, if you doing the same stuff every day and you don't see no results from it, results, you know what I mean? The results matter, you know what I mean? As far as what you doing.
Right.
We don't look at our own results.
Right.
Why? Because we just keep going.
And I think it's good to be aware of this right here because, I mean, honestly, like, the way the universe works sometimes, if you're constantly comfortable with just being comfortable and being stagnant and, you know, just kind of like meddling along in life, like, the universe or life can throw stuff at you sometimes to force you to, like, break up that routine and be uncomfortable. And, I mean, that's a great experience to go through that process too, because sometimes you need to be able to just deal with stuff as it comes and not always try to plan everything out. But I would prefer to be more aware of when I need to break up the routine than life forcing me to go on in a new direction. So being aware of that, I think it is very important of when you need to break the routine and actually challenge yourself more.
I you know, when I had to break my routine up, I didn't know how to study when I got to school. Mm-hmm. So that first semester, it was all about, okay, man, I'm finna get good grades because I had never got a 3.0 in high school. You know, 2 8s, 2 9s, no 3.0. But when I got here, I was like, when I got to college, I was like, you know what, I'm going to get a 3.0. In the routine, I had to break the routines that I had from high school. You know what I mean? Like the high school routine was, I study in the house. Matter of fact, I didn't even study. In high school, I didn't know how to study. They don't teach you. They didn't teach me how to study. But it was just going through the motions. But when I got to college, it was like, bruh, you can't study in this dorm. All these people in these dorms, and freshman year, you keeping your door open. That's what we used to do. We used to keep our doors open. So every other people know what you got going on, your music playing, people just going from room to room. That was the thing. I was like, bro, I will never get nothing done here. You know what made me change my routine up? The first test I took was a psychology test. It was intro to psychology. I got an F, not an E, a F. Because I was comfortable. I was comfortable with studying right there in that dorm. And you know what I did? I went and knocked right on that academic advisor door, because being a student athlete, you get your own academic advisor. I knocked on the door. Hey, I need a tutor. I ain't never went and asked for no tutor. That was probably the most uncomfortable thing to do, you know, is by going to ask somebody for something. And hey, if you don't go ask questions like she said on this campus, you're going to get knocked down, you know? You're going to get knocked down from every situation. So that's just pretty much how it is. You know, I learned from that situation. I went and got a tutor. You know, that tutor helped me develop those skills. Come on up here, Miss Berry, and have a seat. That tutor helped me develop those skills to be like, bro, you can't study where you've been studying. You can't study like how you've been studying. You got to change up everything. And that was the thing. You got to break up the routine that you had. And I had that same routine, and it wasn't going in the direction that I wanted to go. So changing it up, knowing, being aware of what you got going on. The next one is you work on your listening skills. I had to work hard at listening to Tracy while managing my fear of being in the water. I asked her one question after another and listened to her response with great intentions on figuring out how to translate what she said into reality. sometimes you're going to question yourself. That's what this is saying, right? You got to listen to yourself. I can do this. You know what I mean? I know I'm uncomfortable, but I know I can do this. Because that's what we talking about, Miss Berry, is being, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, you know. How do you feel about?
You gotta work through it.
Got to work through
Can't
it.
just leave it alone.
Mm-hmm. It hurts too. I mean, like, I feel crazy sometimes, you know, trying to work through it, but you got to work on your listening skills. You got to listen to yourself. Somebody else may give you something too, you know. Somebody else may speak life into you that day, and it may go over your head. You know, sometimes you don't want to let it go over your head. You may be like, let me stop. Let me listen to what this person is saying. They got some good advice, you know. That's what those professors is for. Go to those professors, you know, listening to those professors. If they getting up here lecturing in front of you and giving you all this information, but you're not going to seek information from them, you too comfortable. Because what are you here for? You know, you need to get uncomfortable. Let me go ask some questions. Let me go see what they got to say. You know, that's how I get out of that comfort zone. You know, even looking up what you probably like, what do I go say to the professor if I don't have a question to ask them? I don't know, they professors, right? Let me look up their name. Let me Google them.
Find out what their work is and
Yeah.
their research, and you know what motivated them to.
We just
where
talked
they
about
are.
this on the panel. You know, for some students was asking, you know, what should they go ask their professor if they don't got nothing to go. Go look them up. They're a professor. They got a doctor in their name. I'm pretty sure they done wrote some type of article that you can go read. Right?
And they want to hear from you too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna bring up this article.
What's going on?
What you mean?
I went to my professor. I told you.
You
and
went?
I asked him a question, and he Googled it and gave me the answer.
He
I could
Googled.
have Googled it too.
Yeah. But I'm saying you still developing a relationship with that person.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying down the line, like even if you didn't have nothing to go and ask them, you can find something to go ask them or find something to start a conversation on.
Right.
Look their name up. Google, like I said, Google them. They wrote an article. I know they wrote an article.
Some of them have
you know,
written books.
Books. You know, I ain't saying read the whole book, but you can go read a chapter. Man, I thought it was interesting that you wrote such and such in this book, and that strike up a whole conversation. You know, based off this book. You know, or based off something that they wrote. People like that. You know, of course, a professor. I feel like a professor gonna be like that because they're like, oh, you read my work. You interested in what I got, you know, what I got to say. And that may be you may be uncomfortable doing that, but that's how you got to get out of that comfort zone. You may not be comfortable doing that, but you got to get uncomfortable by trying things like this. You're going to be going into the real world after you leave here, working in a real job with real situations. You ain't gonna do that in no real job, is you? You ain't gonna not go ask a question to your boss if you have one, right? Or you gonna read something to try to make it make sense, right? What do we got here next? You find perspective in life. I understood that learning how to swim would not make me a better person, nor would completing triathlons. Getting uncomfortable provides you with a fresh perspective on life as you venture down uncharted territory. Okay? How many of these? We got 10. Got one more. You focus your efforts. So despite everything else that is going on around you, getting uncomfortable with a certain task helps you focus your effort. You may rush through the task at first, but over time you will be able to relax and focus your efforts with greater depth. So you focus your efforts. You know what I'm saying? Despite everything else that's going on around you, getting uncomfortable with certain tasks helps you focus your effort. So right now, your certain task is this education. So it's going to be many roadblocks that's going to be put in front of you to dodge. But you have to focus your efforts, meaning your effort is trying to get a good grade in the class. Or like you said, C's get degrees. If you think C's, you going to get C's, you know. But you got to focus your efforts on what it is that you're doing, you know, and get uncomfortable with that, you know. The last one is you are humble. It talks about the lady, and after several months of progress, Tracy took me to a pool with a diving board and a deep end. As I sat on the diving board and figured out a way to jump in, Tracy was on the other end and informed me that she had all day. So it was up to me to get in the pool sooner or later. All the while children are jumping in the deep end like it was the second nature. Nothing like children to teach an adult a little humility. And then they summed it up at the end. Most of life makes up uncomfortable. The more you can practice being comfortable with uncomfortable, the greater your ability to leverage it in the future as you work towards living a life of intention and working with purpose. So you're going to be uncomfortable your whole life, you know. Like I said, you know, I'm always uncomfortable, but, you know, you got to work through it. I feel like we fighting every day, you know. That's what I'm doing. That's what I feel like life is. Living an impeccable fight every day. So you got to fight, you know.
Don't give up.
And if you stay steady comfortable, and Mayweather ain't going in the fight comfortable. We all know boxing, right? And we know he ain't getting in no ring being comfortable. He uncomfortable because he always moving. He moving around. He ain't trying to get hit, you know. So you got to look at it like that. I'm uncomfortable in this ring because I ain't trying to get hit. You know what I mean? Let me get comfortable in the ring and I let my guard down. Then guess what's going to happen? I get beat up. I get knocked out. So, you know, look at it. If you can't look at it in that way, look at it in the fighting way. I'm fighting, you know. I'm fighting for my life.
Totally random. Do you have a fight song?
Do I have a fight song?
Yeah.
I got my song. I listen to my little song, Always Forward. I made a little song. It's called Always Forward. You know, I always talk about nothing in life is backwards. You know, everything that we do is about moving forward, you know. And that's how I look at it. If it was meant for you to be back there, you'll be back there. You know what I mean? So, what's your fight song?
I don't have one yet. It's just,
So you don't got no song that you just your go-to song that get you that energy, get you through. I got a couple of songs besides what I listen to. Kurt Franklin, Brighter Day, and then the other one is George Huff, is Brighter Day too. Because I just believe everything is be a brighter day, you know. You got to believe that, you know. If it starts with you and believing in yourself, you know. So if you don't believe in yourself, you're going to always be uncomfortable. Or you're going to always be comfortable because you don't believe in yourself. Believe. That's the first step to being great is believing.
Whitney sang that song?
Huh?
Learn to love yourself is the greatest love of all.
Exactly.
It's Whitney, eh? Whitney?
Whitney?
Who sang it? Whitney Houston?
Whitney Houston?
Uh-huh.
You know.
I think it's her,
She
yeah.
sung that song.
Learn to love yourself is the greatest love of all.
She can't give love if you don't know how to love yourself.
Say again?
You can't give love to other people if you don't
No,
know how to
you're
love
not
yourself.
loving yourself.
Nor can you expect them to love you the way
I
you
know.
want to be loved if you're not showing them how you want to be loved.
Everything will not begin with you.
Mm-hmm.
Starting again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's it for today that we have with our little workshop on getting comfortable with uncomfortable.
Getting comfortable.